Jonathan and Derby are sitting at a dimly lit bar, nursing their drinks and talking in low voices. The topic of conversation is Jonathan's wife, Clara. Derby hesitates for a moment, then drops a bombshell. Clara has gone to see her ex, Hanks, supposedly to collect money he owes her. The news hits Jonathan hard. His face darkens with anger and disbelief. He clenches his jaw and says that if it's true, then their marriage is over. No questions asked. He won't let her stay in the house, and there's no way she's taking their daughter, Benny, with her. Not after this. Derby leans in, her tone calm but serious. She reminds Jonathan that Clara is nothing if not stubborn. She may take her time making decisions, but once she does, she follows through without hesitation. She warns Jonathan that he needs to get ahead of the situation before Clara makes a choice that tears his life apart even further. She advises him to start making plans now, to think carefully about how to remove Clara from his life before she does more damage than she already has. Jonathan takes a deep breath, then drops another piece of bad news. They're being evicted tomorrow. The landlord gave them the final notice, and there's no more time to stall. Once that happens, everyone will be on their own. There won't be a roof over their heads, not even for Benny. Derby's frustration boils over. She urges Jonathan to stop reacting and start taking control of the situation, of his home, and of his life. She tells him it's time to stop letting Clara dictate how things go. When Jonathan, clearly overwhelmed, suggests that Derby talk to Clara herself, Derby shakes her head. She's been down that road already. Clara doesn't take her seriously. She never has. In fact, Derby reveals that Clara has insulted her outright in the past, calling her bitter and irrelevant because she's unmarried and has no children. After that, Derby stopped trying. There was no point. Still, she's not giving up on Jonathan. She tells him he needs to save his self-respect before it slips away completely. If he keeps waiting, he might lose everything. His home, his daughter, and his own sense of dignity. Jonathan nods slowly, saying she's right, but right now, his focus has to be on finding enough money to cover the rent, even if it's just to buy some time. Clara, he says, will have to wait. Derby gives him a small, approving nod. It's not everything she wants to hear, but at least it's a step in the right direction. Jonathan sat tensely in the dim living room, his fists clenched and jaw tight as he anxiously waited for Clara. The slow ticking of the clock seemed to amplify his agitation. After over an hour of waiting and nervously watching the front door every time a car passed outside, Clara finally arrived. Immediately, the charged atmosphere snapped with tension. Jonathan's voice was low but trembling with barely controlled anger as he demanded to know where she had been. Clara hesitated but then revealed she had gone to meet Hanks, the man who promised her money for her business. Jonathan's expression darkened instantly, and he reacted violently, shouting that he had forbidden her from seeing Hanks. In a moment of rage, he struck her across the face. Clara stumbled back, shocked and furious, warning him never to hit her again or he would regret it. Despite her warning, Jonathan's possessiveness and pride took over. He accused her of betraying him by going behind his back. Clara, however, stood firm, insisting she hadn't hidden anything but simply needed the funds to start her business. She revealed she had already paid the deposit on a shop and intended to launch her business regardless of Jonathan's approval. She challenged him, saying she was not trying to humiliate him, but was determined to break free from his control and the poverty she'd endured. Jonathan's anger grew, but Clara's resolve was unwavering. As she turned to leave and head upstairs, Jonathan grabbed her arm and struck her again, this time harder. Clara retaliated fiercely, hitting him back with a blow that stunned him, her eyes blazing with anger. She warned him that if he ever hit her again, it would be the last time he laid hands on anyone. Jonathan was left standing in stunned silence, hand to his cheek, feeling the sting not just of her blow but of the profound shift between them. Clara walked away with deliberate steps, leaving behind the silence and a clear message. She was no longer afraid, no longer under his control, and ready to take charge of her own life. As Jonathan was preparing to sleep, Clara quietly answered a call from their landlord confirming the annual rent payment. She told Jonathan she had already paid the rent earlier that day. Jonathan was shocked and angry, accusing Clara of overstepping and demanding to know where she got the money. When Clara admitted she borrowed from her ex, Jonathan felt humiliated and betrayed, interpreting her actions as an insult to his pride. Clara, however, defended her decision fiercely. She explained that she acted out of necessity to protect their family, especially their daughter, from eviction and uncertainty. She accused Jonathan of neglecting their financial responsibilities, causing the family to live in fear and instability. Clara insisted that her role as a mother came before being his wife, and she would do whatever it took to ensure their daughter's safety and well-being. The argument escalated as Jonathan angrily declared their marriage over and ordered Clara to leave within 24 hours. Clara refused, standing her ground and telling Jonathan to leave instead. She emphasized that she had secured their home by paying the rent and that if anyone was to leave, it should be him, the one who chose to abandon the marriage emotionally. Jonathan was left speechless and shaken by Clara's unexpected strength and determination. The conversation ended with Clara's words lingering heavily in the room, challenging Jonathan to reconsider the kind of man he wanted to be going forward. Clara is in the living room working on plans for her new business, surrounded by papers and focused on making things work financially. Her daughter, Benny, enters and questions where the money came from, pointing out that Clara hadn't had enough funds just a month earlier. Clara initially claims that a friend lent her the money, but when Benny presses further and mentions that her father, Clara's husband, Jonathan, said it came from Clara's ex, Clara admits the truth. Clara explains that while the money did come from her ex, there is no romantic involvement. He's simply helping during a difficult time. She reassures Benny that she is still married to Jonathan, but also acknowledges that Jonathan is no longer financially or emotionally supporting the family. Clara says she had no other option but to accept the help for the sake of their well-being. Benny then voices her worry about what others might say or think about the situation. Clara responds firmly, saying that people who aren't willing to help don't have the right to judge. She emphasizes that her priority is their survival, and that Benny should learn not to let other people's opinions dictate her choices. Clara's message is clear. Doing what's necessary is more important than keeping up appearances. Moved by her mother's honesty and strength, Benny ultimately understands and expresses her support. Inspirational messages. Sometimes, survival means making hard choices that others won't understand. Clara chose strength over silence, purpose over pride, and her child's future over public approval. In the face of betrayal, control, and judgment, she stood her ground, not to hurt, but to heal, rebuild, and rise. Her story is a reminder that courage isn't loud. It's the quiet defiance of someone refusing to stay broken. When the world offers no help, let your resolve be your rescue. And when the path forward seems impossible, make your own way.